What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down some big news that just came out from the Fed, as we had a couple of speakers giving their speeches for today, how this may affect the market moving forward. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I talk about a very important level on SPY and other tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, when it comes to the market, we actually saw SPY dip just a bit. We got this little sell-off right over here before seeing some buyers trying to defend our positions right here as we're trying to make our way back above our key 5, our 20, 15, 200 EMAs on the 5-minute time frame. So everything's very aligned right now. This thing is just trading around our EMAs. We're going to be watching to see if this thing could push higher. Why did the market sell off the way it did? Well, we had a lot of things coming out. Firstly, the economic optimism report actually helped the market pump a little bit. So this was okay in the beginning. It wasn't that crazy. Total household debt also helped the market just hold up. It was completely fine. But then after noon, this is Eastern Standard Time, by the way. After noon came, we had Mester, Kashkari, and Collins giving their speeches. And Kashkari said some things, in my opinion, that caused the market to sell off just a little bit. He basically said that the Fed is not quite there on year-over-year inflation, but they're getting closer essentially. I also have more quotes from his speech. I actually have some notes on my phone right over here. I'm going to just read everything to you guys just for a couple of seconds just to show you some of the things that he said. Now this affected SPY. So he basically said, and I quote, "The recent inflationary data has been surprisingly positive. We are not quite there on year-over-year inflation data, but 3 months and 6 months data are basically there." He also said that, "I don't want to say we're done yet, but fingers are crossed. Most of the disinflationary gains have come from the supply side, and the yield curve is not a reliable indicator of recession. Also, a lot of this is not caused by the Fed." On top of this, Collins from the Fed has come out and he basically said that he does not want to comment on policy or economic outlook in the remarks right now. He also mentioned that things are in a very, very interesting situation and that the Fed still has work to do. So he said just a couple of things, with them saying a couple of things like that. We did see the market have a little negative response just temporarily, but now we're seeing buyers defend as we're still holding support. Now, later on, guys, just as a reminder, we have Snap earnings, Ford, Chipotle, and just a couple of others after the market closes. If you're interested in these, you could play them, by the way. If you don't want to play them, it's up to you. But who knows? You could make some good money. If I were to play earnings like these, what I would do is I wouldn't really risk too much. I'd risk a very small sum of money relative to my portfolio. Not financial advice, but that's what I would do if I were to play these. Sometimes things can work out very great, especially if you do some research on how their projections are and how well they've done historically. So anyways, now let's just talk about some charts. How are things looking? So SPY, so far, it's trying to hold above 492 flat. You guys can see we have a nice range right over here. This is just what the range looks like around our EMAs. So we got this little pump and dump like we want SPY. Then we're just going back and forth throughout the day. And we came to this like 492 zone. We're getting bought up right here. And as we get close to about 494, we tend to get rejections, but we're still above 491. And that's actually favoring the bulls a little bit more. So SPY is still in a good place. It's not in a bad place, not in the greatest place, but it's still in a decent place. So this is what the chart looks like when it comes to the different levels. You can see we got very tight in this pen, got a false breakout, came back down. We're just continuing to trade sideways from here. And I'm going to just delete this for now, just show you something else. This is basically just a range that's essentially forming on SPY for the time being. And we can actually redraw this. We can actually take our support down here and move it down to like 492 if you want. So you can see how it's been just back and forth price action. And we're going to be watching to see which way we hold. Now, as long as we close above 491, we're still going to remain in this range most likely for an extended period of time. And we're going to be fine. But if we lose 491, we're going to turn bearish. So make sure you watch that support carefully. For resistance, watch 494. If we do break above that and close above it, there's going to be more potential for it to break out. What do I think is going to happen? My gut is telling me we're just going to remain in this range for an extended period of time. We might see some buyers defend SPY, but later on, it's still possible SPY gets a nice pump and tries to break out to these highs, even to new all-time highs towards the end of the week. It's still a possibility. I haven't really ruled that out since we're still above 491. So SPY is still favoring the bulls slightly more, and we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Otherwise, for today, we're still range bound between 492 and 494. How about Tesla? How is Tesla looking for now? So Tesla's a stock that's been getting a lot of bad news, and it's been rejecting. Excuse me, guys. I apologize for that. It's been rejecting off the yellow trend line over here. So we rejected one, two, three, four, five times. Very, very interesting stuff for Tesla, just getting all these rejections. But the question is, can Tesla try to break out? So in order for this to happen, we need to just try to see this thing hold above this, if not close above this yellow trend line. There's going to be more potential for a bigger breakout. We have resistance at previous support in this 184 zone. If we break this, watch 186. And if we break that, 188 is going to be our next target. If we get above that, we're going to push into the 190s very easily. So that's going to be a very, very important level. I also think that if we manage to close above this yellow trend line, we could even push into the 190s. It's going to be easier to do that because we'll be breaking a key resistance. However, if we reject, because we're already rejecting off this, watch support at 182.5. If we lose that, there's 180. And if we lose 180, we could be sinking back down to the lows in the 176s. Tesla's kind of flat right now. It's kind of rejecting off this. Now it's trading sideways. So it doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's going to break this for today. It might just kind of struggle a little bit. So just be a little bit careful for now, and we'll just have to see how it goes. We could attempt to break this. We might not do a very, very good job. So we'll just be very patient and we'll see how Tesla does. My gut tells me it's just going to be range bound as well with SPY. It might not break out of this today, but there is still some hope for the future. So we'll be watching this very, very carefully. Onto the QQQ. I just want to mention that the QQQ is showing some weakness. Now, we had a nice looking bullish wedge that was forming, but we got a break below this trend line of support. Once we got this break to the downside, we came all the way down to 425. This is the level we called out in the morning. And now we're trying to push back to resistance at 427. We're just going back and forth, pretty much for the entire day. And we might just continue to do so for the rest of today. So things are looking kind of boring. But here's the thing. Could we still make a nice recovery back towards this imbalance and back towards like this trend line? It's still a possibility, but we have to get above this resistance. For now, we're just stuck range bound, back and forth and back and forth. If we were to lose 425, we turn bearish to come down to 423.8. Otherwise, we're just stuck for now, and not really a whole lot is going on. So kind of a boring day, at least for the QQQ, going back and forth and back and forth. Not really much is going on with it. As far as Nvda goes, I told everyone that if Nvidia were to sell off, okay, if we lost this support right here at 675, watch 666, we actually came a couple of dollars below that before getting bought back up very close to 666. You guys can see this. And now we're just kind of shuffling at 675. So I think Nvidia, it could make an attempt to get a little higher again, but then we're going to be watching for a rejection if that ends up happening. I think Nvidia is going to try to rebound, so we can actually draw out a Fibonacci retracement here just to see if we reach our 0.618 retracement. I'm not going to do that right now, but you could do that on your own if you want. But it's going to try to rebound a little bit. I'm going to be watching to see if we can get very close to 680, and then it might just shuffle within this range for the remainder of the day. I'm not really seeing a whole lot going on with it. Kind of boring. It is trying to push a little bit after this big sell-off that happened, so watch and see if we can get closer to about 680. We might just continue to shuffle within this range for the remainder of the day. Now, what about Aapl? How is Aapl looking? Apple's looking pretty nice because we're holding up very, very nicely, right? We have a nice bullish looking pattern that's developing on the chart, an inverse head and shoulders like structure. We're also respecting an uptrend. So if Apple could break 189, watch for a push towards 190.5, then eventually the highs up here at 192. Now, if we reject, we end up coming down, you're going to be watching basically around 187.5. If we lose that, 186.5 is another possibility. But don't forget, guys, it's not necessarily the end of the day. Things are still just kind of holding up for now. It's still trading sideways, but it's still holding up a lot better than SPY and these other tickers out here. So we'll just have to see how it goes. For now, we're just going to be watching this thing shuffle, but there is potential for it to break out in the upwards direction since we have a bullish looking structure. It's consistently making higher highs and higher lows and holding up. So there's a good chance Apple could push later on. It still looks quite good, and there's no change of it. There's no sign of it basically changing and taking a big hit quite yet. So it's still holding up nicely. We'll just have to see how it goes. So that's it for your update, guys. The market is kind of range bound. SPY is, so is the QQQ. Tesla is trying to break up but not doing the best of jobs. It's just kind of testing resistance. And then Nvda is trying to rebound a little bit, and Aapl is just kind of stuck for now, but it has bullish potential for the future. That's my best analysis for now. Please have a great day, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.